We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, May 28th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and welcome to News Generation. Joining us this Wednesday is Park Hyun.
Thanks for having me and happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. And Brooke Prince.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. We're going to begin our show with our keyword news. Our keyword for this Wednesday is election. Now, South Korea is now just 6 days away from its snap presidential election scheduled for June 3rd. And last night marked the final televised debate between the presidential candidates. The 4 candidates who were invited by the National Election Commission to participate, Lee Jae-myung of the Democratic Party, Kim Moon-soo of the People Power Party, Lee Jun-seok of the Reform Party, and Kwon Young-guk of the Democratic Labor Party, engaged in a heated discussion on major issues including national security, constitutional reform, and foreign policy. So I want to ask your panelists, did you tune in for the debates? And with the big day fast approaching, how are you feeling about this presidential election?
Well, as a foreigner living in Korea, I cannot vote in the presidential election, but I do still think it's important to stay informed because the president is someone that is going to influence immigration policies, visa policies, things that do impact me. So I did try to watch it. I'm also a forever Korean learner, so to me, watching things like this are very good practice, but I will say political debates, there's a lot of jargon, a lot of overlap. It's quite difficult to understand, but I did my best. I thought it was quite interesting to sort of compare and contrast between Korean debate culture and American debate culture. So yeah, I really just hope that everything turns out well and that Korea can achieve some more political stability since it's been kind of a chaotic time.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster
Yes.
a few months since last December. So what did you think of it, Kyun?
I also tried to tune in and to watch it live as much as I could, but the things that I missed out on, I'll read up on it and watch the highlight and key moments on YouTube as well. It was, of course, a fierce debate indeed, as the candidates, I guess, like the top two candidates, did their best to appeal to many of the swing voters, because that could really determine who actually becomes a president in the end. Honestly, in general, the overall assessment of their talks was, I think it lacked clarity in addressing the details of each discussed category without a specific plan that I think the people in general really wanted to hear. And they seemed more focused on attacking each other for their past mistakes.
I think a lot of people thought about it like that during last night's debate.
It was very much. And when they were asked questions, they didn't really actually answer the questions. They started talking about something else and like used up all the time they had. So, I mean, I guess like politics and debates, when they come together, it can become a little too complex, just beating around the bush, not getting straight to the point, and just using up all the time talking about what they actually want to say instead of answering the real questions and the answers, the response that the people actually want to hear. But look, it's June 3rd, that's the big day. We'll see what happens, and hopefully it turns out to be beneficial for the country in the long run.
Right. And we want to share some information regarding voting because early voting begins tomorrow. So if you're eligible to vote but won't be able to cast your ballot on Election Day, which is once again June 3rd, you can participate in early voting on Thursday and Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at voting booths across the country. And that was our keyword news for this Wednesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Wednesday means we're going to explore the latest lifestyle trends shaping the younger generation. Take a look at the screen to find out more about today's topic. One way many young people relax these days is by reading webtoons on their phones or tablets. Over the years, Korean webtoons have become a global phenomenon, earning top honors at major international awards. Today on NewsGen, we're gonna zoom in on what makes Korean webtoons so compelling. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the K-Webtoon craze. Starting off, do you enjoy webtoons? And if you do, what's your favorite pick?
If I don't,
Yes, you
of course
do.
I do.
Sorry.
I enjoy webtoons to kill time, and I think what makes it really easy to keep up to date with your favorite ones is that you can set alarms so that it reminds you of when the next new episode will be uploaded. So, for example, on two main platforms, which is the Naver Webtoon and Kakao Webtoon. On Naver Webtoon, it tells you the night before at 11 p.m.
It's exciting.
Yeah, and with Kakao Webtoon, it tells you at 10 p.m. the night before. And in terms of my all-time favorite, I know these comics they were already completed a long time ago, but it would have to be 마음의 소리.
Oh, the classic one.
The sound of the heart,
Yeah.
and Kian Palsa's Fashion Wang. Actually, it's Passion Wang. In Korean, it's the Fashion King, which shows how old I am. But those two are my all-time favorites.
I see. Then I want to ask you, Brooke, are you also a fan of webtoons?
Yeah, you said Wednesday means, and I thought you were going to say Wednesday means webtoons. So I'm very excited about our show today because some of our viewers might not know this, but in addition to appearing on NewsGen, my other job is as a translator.
Right.
So I graduated with my master's degree in interpretation and translation from Chungang University right here in Korea, and one of my jobs is to translate webtoons. I'm currently in charge of 5 different series.
Wow.
So I translate about 20 to 25 episodes per week. So given my workload, I typically don't have enough time to seek out other webtoons for fun, but my job is fun. I get to read webtoons while I'm working, which is basically the coolest thing ever.
Right, and we brought this topic to our show today because Korean webtoons have been exploding in popularity in recent years, with some even calling them the next big pillar of K-culture. So how would you describe the global appeal of Korean webtoons right now?
You know, you're absolutely right. K-Webtoon has played a pivotal role in expanding the K-wave even more, and it seems safe to say that it is the next big pillar of K-culture. Just last year, the K-Webtoon industry surpassed 2 trillion won in transactions for the first time in history, marking a 19.7% increase compared to the previous year. In terms of overseas exports, the order of market share was Japan, North America, China, Southeast Asia, and Europe. And by looking at the overall market size of the South Korean webtoon industry, back in 2017, it was $280 million US dollars, jumping to $770 million in 2020, and further increasing, making a leap to $1.6 billion in 2023. And 1K webtoon called The Perfect Soldier is an example of how popular K-Webtoon is, because there was a pop-up store that was set up in Tokyo late February, and it was a huge success, drawing around 10,000 people.
Wow.
And in terms of generated revenue, it was said to be on par with pop-up stores for K-pop idols.
Oh.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Because I don't think it's been long since we first saw pop-up stores of Korean webtoons, but they're now opening up overseas as well.
Even in Japan, and doing very well.
They are indeed. Then what could be some other standout examples that could really show how successful Korean webtoons have become, Brooke?
Yeah, wow, those were some remarkable numbers. I think it's very clear that Korean webtoons have rapidly become a global force in comics and entertainment in general. Even in the US, which has typically been dominated by Marvel and DC Comics, K-Webtoons are gaining major popularity. So one that I want to highlight is called Lore Olympus. This is a modern retelling of Greek mythology. It debuted on a Korean webtoon platform and reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. It's also won the prestigious Eisner Award, often called the Oscars of comics, for 3 consecutive years now. And actually, after its first win, and you'll see on the screen here, the New York Times ran an article titled "Comics That Read Top to Bottom Are Bringing in New Readers." And this really spotlighted the appeal of these vertical scrolling comics. Now, this was actually pioneered by Korea. They innovated the vertical scroll format and the episodic reading format in general, which brought in a lot of readers. We all know that young people love to doom scroll on their phones, so what a great invention, very smart strategy by Korea to get people into webtoons. And it's really working. Through these mobile apps and online platforms, over 170 million users across 150 different countries are now engaging with Korean webtoon content. There are many diverse genres, there are expanding fan bases, and so I think it's really transforming digital storytelling as a whole. And again, we talk about the Korean wave a lot on this show, and it's really cool to see webtoons becoming a big part of that now.
Definitely. Then, expanding on what just Brooke mentioned, what do you think is really bringing in more international readers to these K-webtoons, Q?
The main factors driving its popularity are strong storytelling, imaginative concepts, and detailed illustrations. And since it's a visual medium, there's virtually no limit to what can be portrayed. So various technologies are also integrated, such as flash effects, which means moving images, background music, phone vibration, and 3D effects. These are especially effective in horror webtoons, where 3D visuals or simulated phone calls significantly enhance immersion and fear. Readers can share their thoughts through comments on each episode, and some even uncover hidden meanings and interpretations, adding to the fun of reading the comments. By combining universal themes with uniquely Korean cultural elements and technology, I think K-webtoons are appealing to audiences worldwide.
Right, but it's not just all these features and technology that are drawing readers into K-webtoons, right, bro?
Well, I'm too much of a scaredy cat to do the scary webtoons, I think, but that's the good news. There's a genre for everyone out there. But I will say the trend that has really stood out are stories centered around regression or going back in time, possession, and reincarnation. You might be sensing a pattern. It's all about redos and kind of having a second chance. So the narratives often feature these protagonists that have suffered a lot of hardship or injustice, and they get another chance to restore what they've lost. And one prime example of this is the webtoon Return of the Blossoming Blade. Return is kind of your hint. It's all about a return to success. And so this webtoon has done extremely well. According to the 2024 survey by the Korea Creative Content Agency, this webtoon actually overtook Lookism, which everyone has heard of Lookism, and it was the top webtoon for 3 years running, but again, it was dethroned by this new webtoon. And the main character's journey through overcoming hardship and facing those challenges, it resonated with readers because they felt a sense of catharsis that they couldn't really get in real life. And the numbers back it up. The original web novel has surpassed 700 million downloads, and the webtoon's second season actually earned 4 billion won, or $3 million, just in its first day of its release. So that just shows you how popular webtoons are.
Once again, very remarkable figures. And before we move on, Brooke, you mentioned that you are working as a webtoon translator.
Yes.
So I'm sure many of our viewers will want to know, did you have any memorable or fun experiences or stories regarding your job?
Yes, I could go on and on about this, but just to give a few examples, I want to first talk about Konglish. So you might think Konglish would be great for translators, right? Because it's borrowing English words that we're all familiar with. But the issue is that they're used differently in Korean. So my first example is schedule. In Korean, it's schedule. Sounds pretty similar, right? But you can say something like schedul이 있어요 in Korean, and it translates directly to I have a schedule. And no, I don't mean a calendar. I mean a specific appointment or meeting. So in English, you would have to translate it to I have plans or I have an appointment. Another Konglish word that can trip up translators is skinship. We don't really say that in English. It's just simple affection between friends, like a hug or a pat on the back. But if someone said, I don't like skinship in Korean, you'd have to say, I'm not really a hugger. I like my personal space. I don't like to be touched. Notice how there are a lot of variations in English, and we need that because in Korean webtoons, they will use the same phrase or word over and over again, and it doesn't come across as redundant to Korean readers. But for English readers, we need a lot of variety. So that even counts for sound effects. One of them is the bane of my existence. It's called suk, and it can mean a dozen different things in English. It can mean reach, it can mean lean, lean, it can mean rustle, it can mean step, glance. It basically just means a furtive movement of some sort. So you really have to look at visual cues in order to figure out how to translate it. But as you can see, my eyes light up when I talk about it. It's really fun figuring it out. It's kind of like a brain puzzle. So I enjoy it.
Amazing, remarkable.
Thank you.
So before we move on, we are going to take a look at our viewers' comments as well. We also asked our viewers what they love most about Korean webtoons by running a poll on our Arirang News YouTube channel. If we look at the poll results, 57% answered they like the storylines the most, followed by illustration style 25%, tech features, and genre variety came in third with 9%. Okay, so after the break, we'll be joined by an American Gen Z who's a fan of Korean webtoons. Stay with us.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today to talk about webtoons is American Gen Z Jotsia Jean. Welcome back to the show, Jotsia.
Hi, I'm super happy to be here.
Happy to have you as well. So Jotsia, which Korean webtoons have you read, and do you have a favorite? And if you do, what makes it stand out to you?
Yeah, so I was an avid follower of webtoons back in middle school and high school, but these days I still catch up on my favorite ones when I'm on the subway and on the bus. So I have two favorites actually, and they're quite different from one another, but one of them is Spirit Fingers and the other one is Viral Hit. And these two are, although one of them is like fully just coming of age and somewhat romantic, the other one is action. They both have kind of like the main character being an underdog, and you get really invested in the fact that they're building up these friendships with a lot of unexpected dynamics and interesting characters. So I really am a fan of those kind of stories with realistic character relationships where you can really get invested in the unique characters that they have.
Well, you seem to be really into K-webtoons. So what do you think makes Korean webtoons so appealing, and is there something unique about them compared to other comics that you've read before?
Yeah, I think Korean webtoons are really good at being emotionally accessible and relatable. So even though the characters are usually really unique, they have a lot of unique art styles that they're drawn in, and their personalities are very over the top. The emotions that they actually express are very relatable, and audiences can connect with them easily. So I think that makes it so that anyone around the world can read it. And even if you don't know a lot about Korean culture, you can pick up on the same types of emotions, and learn a little bit about Korea at the same time. And I also think they're very physically accessible because they progress vertically. So like I mentioned earlier, I read it when I'm on the subway or the bus. And even though when I'm on the subway, I have to like hold on to the top part, I can still be scrolling with one hand and get perfectly invested into the story just while I'm on my daily commute.
Well, thank you so much for your insights today. One more question for you. We've been seeing more and more Korean webtoons getting adapted into dramas or films. So have you watched any? And if so, how did you like them?
I know that a lot of the ones that I read actually have been adapted, but I haven't gotten the chance to watch any fully. So I really wanted to watch like Sweet Home, for example, but I haven't made the time. So I've just really enjoyed the OST in the meantime. And then True Beauty was another one. I actually watched a few episodes of that one, but I kind of struggled to get into it since I had read like up to chapter 300 and something by the time I tried to watch the show. And it was kind of hard for me to restart it since it was like trying to get into the show without all the character development I had witnessed so far. But I think outside of my personal experience, it was a pretty accurate recreation. I just think that adapting something with a lot of chapters to an on-screen adaptation can always be hard since it's hard to take that many chapters and put it into the limited time that a Korean drama allows for.
All right, Jotsia, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're now going to continue to talk about how Korean webtoons are increasingly being adapted into live action dramas and films. So I want to hear your thoughts on this new creative process.
Yeah, so movies or dramas based on webtoons are produced from well-proven storylines and, of course, solid storylines, which helps reduce the risk. Since these works already have an established fan base, they are more likely to achieve a stable box office success. Moreover, by leveraging the strength of each medium, a virtuous cycle is created, where the fans of the original webtoon seek out the video adaptations, while fans of the video content are drawn to the original webtoon. So in the end, it becomes a win-win situation that benefits both parties in these adaptations.
Right. Anything you'd like to add, Brooke?
Sure, I'll just quickly go over some of the recent hits. There have been a lot of cross-IP collaborations, and that means web novels are being turned into webtoons and then expanding into dramas and films. So we've seen drama series like Weak Hero and Karma. Other notable hits include the Trauma Code, Heroes on Call, and Solo Leveling. Now, for upcoming projects you might be interested in, there's Mercy for None, which is a gritty crime drama that is set to debut in June. And there's also Omniscient Reader the Prophet. This is a fantasy story about a man navigating an apocalyptic world. And this will be released as 5 films. I know it sounded epic when I described it, and that's how epic it's going to be. There have been many big names associated with this at this point, including Lee Min-ho and Blackpink's Jisoo. So that is something to really look forward to. And I have to say, just my overall opinion on the creative process of this, my dream would be to star in a webtoon adaptation for a webtoon that I translated. I think all my worlds would collide.
Fingers crossed. So wrapping up our show today, what more do you think can be done to really boost the global reach of Korean webtoons or to make sure that more people can enjoy it?
As Webtoon garners more attention home and abroad, the illegal Webtoon market has become a concern as well, as it accounts for 20% of the legal market. Although a major illegal site was recently shut down, the issue has not been eradicated fully. So I think a responsible mindset and a stronger legal framework is needed so that everyone can enjoy these creative works in a fair manner that benefits all parties.
Right. What do you think is important?
Well, I think translators are getting more and more work these days because there's such a huge global reach. And if you're a Korean learner like myself, I think having the Korean version and the English version side by side is a great way to learn the language. So I hope that continues. And of course, coming from the perspective of someone who is translating, I do hope that AI continues to be used as a tool and not a replacement. I think it's really important that translators continue to do their work because that's how you add the human nuance and heart to this creative content.
Right, adding the human touch. All right, and that's all we have for today's News Generation, but we will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks to Park Ki-eun.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, and Brooke Prince.
Thank you. Loved the show today.
Thank you, and to our viewers, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.